G'day, this is Peter Anthony with module number 2 in storytelling for marketers in your role as the Chief Emotion Officer or CEO of your organisation. And we'll look at this from a couple of different perspectives. Firstly, from the perspective of you collecting your own stories. How do you collect stories? Step number 1 here is to say you're looking for a significant event in your life where something major is changing, something big has happened. And you could call that a storytelling moment, a moment when a story can happen because that really increases the engagement for your audience. It's something interesting. So looking for a moment in time when something really dramatic happens to you. An example from my life was I was meeting with a potential senior client I wanted to work with. I had 10 minutes in his diary. He was a chief executive of a private equity firm, and I was warned about how challenging he was, how dominant he was, how direct he was. And I had 10 minutes in his diary to help him on a major pitch that he was working on. And I remember I was very tired. It was 8 a.m. very early on Monday morning. I was up all the night before preparing for this 10 minutes to make sure that I could really nail it for him. I arrived at the boardroom early. I was waiting for him to arrive, and in he walked in a beautiful grey suit, beautifully pressed shirt with a red tie on, sat down, took his jacket off, walked over to the aircon, turned it right down so it was very cold, looked across from me with beautiful French cuffs on his shirt. He took both of his gold cufflinks off, laid them on the table in front of me, and he said, well, good morning. I've decided to change this meeting from 10 minutes to 2 hours, and we're going to do the entire pitch together right now. And obviously very confronted by this, I thought it was just the introduction, not the whole piece. Fortunately, I was well prepared for what was coming, and I managed to keep that conversation on track for 2 hours and give him what he looked for. But it was one of the most challenging meetings I've had, but fortunately I was prepared for it. Now, that's a storytelling moment for me as a coach. So you think you had that storytelling moment is step number 1. Step number 2 is to write the key facts down as quickly as possible. Step number 3 is to retell the story as quickly as possible to your colleagues, because what you'll find is you can tell a story in different ways, and your audience is the one that is best suited to let you know what the best way to tell that particular story is. And step number 4 is to start a storytelling journal. A journal is a list of all the stories that you've got at your disposal that you can use from your life. Write them down. I've got one that goes back over 10 years, and I keep revisiting it again and again and again because I often forget stories I might have developed 7 or 8 or 9 years ago. So think about those key steps so you can collect stories from your experience. Now, that's just one source. Another source is you can listen to podcasts, read books, listen to audiobooks, and find other people's stories. Stories of people like Elon Musk, who wants to put a civilization on Mars, and the whole story of SpaceX, or his story around Tesla, or his story around the Boring Company and building tunnels in Los Angeles. You can borrow stories from him or from older folks, people like Steve Jobs. Think about their stories, or people like Jeff Bezos. Think about your favorite heroes, your business heroes, and use their stories as part of what it is that you would like to say or you would like to do. Or you can ask your staff for stories, ask your team for stories. Depending upon how big your team is, ask them for stories of what's working or not working for them. And finally, you can ask your customers. As a marketer, ask customers, ask consumers for their stories, because the best stories you can tell around your brands are stories about what that brand means for them, or how it's experienced, whether that's a customer experience, or whether that's a shopper's experience, or whether it's a consumer's experience. They can be the ones that are absolutely stronger. So there's some ideas for you on how to collect stories as a marketer. I look forward to seeing you in module number 3, where we'll talk about how to craft a story. Bye for now.